Hi, welcome to another episode of Justlivin Designs podcast. My name is Shannon, also known as Justlivin Designs, and this is podcast number 15. It is April 4th at a Thursday at about 10 to 10 in the morning. Yeah, so like I said, my name is Shannon. I am an indie knitwear designer, but I knit a lot of things that are not my designs. And so that's why I started this podcast, to show off other things that I work on and hopefully show you some different makers, as in yarn dyers or other like yarny things like bag makers and other things like that that you might like, or some patterns that you might not know about. Sometimes I knit the normal, like everybody else, patterns, and sometimes I knit ones that are less known. And again, I have designs as well. So yeah, everything that I talk about will be linked down below. I usually link Ravelry project pages, but I also have my Ravelry design page linked below where you can find my patterns, my designs. I also have my link tree down there, which has the Love Crafts and PayHip options if you can't use Ravelry. I have my email down below, my Goodreads down below, and oh, there is a local candle maker that I'm an affiliate with. So there's a link for that down below, plus a coupon code if you want to get some candles. I think that's everything for the beginning. I'm just like to say thanks for people that are watching, and I hope to. My subscriber rate is going up little by little, and my goal is once I get to 1,000, I'll probably do a gift that I can send out in the mail, plus a pattern of mine to people. So I hope once we get to that 1,000 point, I will announce that on that episode. So hopefully we get there before too long. All right. Today I'm going to talk about a fair amount of FOs, actually. I have been knitting a lot, and then I'll talk about some whips and acquisitions. There is non-yarny acquisitions as well, because bought some books and records, and then reading, watching, and some life stuff and stuff like that. But first I'll start talking about what I'm wearing today. It has gotten warmer again here. I live in Montana. We had snow last week again, and then it's been in the 70s basically since, I don't know if it got up in the 70s on Monday, but it's going to be in the 70s through tomorrow, I think, and then on Saturday we're supposed to get a lot of rain, which should be super fun for the soccer game. Anyways, I am wearing, I don't know if I'll wear this all day just because it is a sweater, a knit sweater, but it's fingering weight. If it gets really warm today, I'll probably change into a t-shirt later on. But this is a rendition of a Flax Light by Tin Can Knits that I knit in 2019, so 5 years ago. It is knit with 3 different colors of Lane and Lotus. She's no longer dyeing. This was a fairly thin sock yarn, so it's a very lightweight sweater and it's airy. But yeah, I ended up doing a kind of like a fade. I don't know how well you can see the fade. But yeah, I striped when I got into one color, and then I striped again to the last color. I made it 3/4 length sleeves, and I added short rows to the back as well. All the little details on this can be found on the project page in Ravelry. But yeah, this is just something I kind of threw a lot of different patterns together to make something that I liked. So yeah, that was before I was like designing sweaters so much. So I was still playing with other people's designs. Which I do anyways nowadays. I'll knit somebody else's design and then make it my own. All right, so yeah, we'll get into some FOs. The first one I'll talk about is a whip that I had last week, or 2 weeks ago, because I do this every 2 weeks. And this is my shorty socks that I started a few weeks ago. And these are, there's a pair. These are for me. I was using up leftover yarn that I had knit my sun socks with in the fall. So this is Hugh Loco's Hocus Pocus collection, the Black Flame Candle. It used like about 45 grams or so for my size. This is my trusty top-down sock pattern, which is a heel flap gusset with a garter edge for the heel flap. And I knit about 1 inch or so for the cuff, and then about 1.5 inches or so for the leg, and then the rest. And I knit these on size US 0 or 2 millimeter needles and 60 stitch count. So I think that's the 4th size in that design. And yeah, now that I've shown you guys, I can wear these because it's shorty sock season. And then some other FOs. I'll show you the hat first, and then I'll talk about the new design. So I've been meaning to knit my husband a hat for a little while to replace one. I knit him a Rise Up beanie, which is one of my designs. It's actually the first design that I produced for the Warm the Line campaign, which is a nonprofit get out the vote type campaign, and where knitters make hats, gloves, cowls, scarves, you know, anything that, and then they can distribute them to people in long voting lines in the fall. And my first one was Rise Up beanie. I don't have it here to show you. And my husband was wearing it last year in the spring. Yeah, in the spring, he went down to a local park that's along Yellowstone River and was helping clearing brush in the spring, and they had burn piles. And he got a little close, but luckily his hat was 100% wool, so it didn't like just catch on fire. But it burnt some holes in the hat. He didn't hurt his head or anything, but yeah, burnt some holes in the hat. And I was like, don't get so close to the fire. Anyways, so I've been meaning to replace like a warmer, because that one had a rolled brim, and it was like a worsted weight woolly hat. I've been meaning to replace it for him. And a knitting podcast, the Knitting Posse, started a while ago, and it's just wrapping up this Friday, I think. Knitting knit along with Thea Coleman to knit her designs, any of her designs. And the main reason was because she has a lot of hat patterns, and I've been meaning to knit this hat for my husband for a while, and that just gave me another reason to do it. And I put it off because I was too busy working on other things. So then finally last week sometime, I think, I cast it on, and then I finished it yesterday. But it's really hard to see because it's dark. But this is the, there you go, Oban hat. I have knit this one before for my brother. I also have her cardigan pattern with the same like type of cabling in it that I will probably make at some point in time. But right now the hat is what he gets. And this is knit, I brought the tag even up, I'm so on top of it, out of Hudson and West Forge, which is their worsted weight. And it is the colorway Midnight. And they do batch numbers, so it's kind of like a dye lot. So this was batch 13. And yeah, this is just a really nice, it's a, oh, what kind of wool is this? So this is 70% merino, 30% Cordale, all done in the United States between sourcing and spinning and dyeing. But yeah, so he has a new beanie for when it's colder. He loves my, I have another free hat design that he wears all the time called Flame Out. Is like one of the first patterns I put up on Ravelry. It's free. It's not the best written pattern in the world, and I don't even know if I have the original on it anymore because we've changed computers and we weren't so great about transferring files. I don't know. I'll see if I can find it, but I could update that design at some point. But yeah, he wears that one all the time, but it's starting to die, and this is another one for him to have. So I think he'll be happy. And he loves like dark, moody colors. And yeah, this is how much I had left. It used about 70, almost 80 grams of yarn total. And I think I put it in the project notes, but I knit the brim just a little bit longer. And I think I did the actual like cable repeats for the hat. So did it pretty much to pattern. All right. And then the next ones I'm going to show, actually I'll keep one of these on bloggers in case you can see, are some upcoming designs. Now, this is not I have a design right now out to testers that should come out in about a week and a half for a DK weight sock. This one I'm showing just because it's not like anything too fancy. It's just that I wanted to put out a good sock, a different type of heel for self-striping. And I've put this heel in one of my designs, I think. It's in my woolen socks designs, and it's the square heel flap. So it's a heel turn that's with the square. I've knit it in some other socks for my family at different times. I'll just throw it in sometimes, but it's not as common as like the triangle type turn, which is what this one has. And the big reason that I did this is because I wanted to have a different option for people that like a heel flap and gusset, but don't like how it distorts their stripes when they're using self-striping. And this type of heel doesn't have as big of a gusset, which is the decrease section. It is a lot shorter, so it doesn't disrupt your stripes nearly as much. So this one I made for my husband. This is an old pair of Gauge Dye Works yarn called Bowling Alley. And this is out of her sock, like whatever, you know, and it came, I think it's 115 grams, and it comes with all the self-striping, and then at the end it basically has the mini incorporated to the end of the ball. So as you're winding it up, you can take off the mini and use it. I just decided to use it just for the heel, and then just do cuff and toe. And so this one is going to be a pair for my husband. I'm not 100% sure what I'm calling these socks yet. And I'll probably put out I use a testing group on Ravelry, and right now I have one running in there, so I might just throw a test call out on Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, I might throw a testing call out for people to knit this up. You don't have to do it with self-striping. You can do it with anything, but just to get another set of eyes beyond me and my editor for the pattern. And then I knit a shorty pair for myself. So there's another pair. And this one was leftover Knit Picks Fleechy, which I'm kind of bummed that they don't do the Fleechy anymore because their new one, I can't remember what it's called. These ones were 50 gram balls, and their new one are 100 gram balls, and the stripes are smaller, and these are super wide stripes. And I kind of like the wide stripes because not as many dyers knit or do the wider stripes. But yeah, I was just using leftovers, and I think this was Knit Picks Stroll and the Dove Heather, and I just did a shorty sock pair for myself where I did the contrast for the cuff and then went into some stripes and then did the square heel. Heel flap and gusset with the square heel turn. And then I just decided not to finish it with the contrast because where I started, or where I finished the leg, it was just into like a couple of rounds of this gray stripe, this dark gray. And I didn't want that. So I just finished it with the self-striping. And I wanted to show like a example of the difference between the the length of the gusset. So you can see kind of here on the line, like the gusset line. Can you see that very well? It comes way down to like there. And this is with US zeros and a bigger stitch count. And this is with US ones with like 56 stitches, I believe. And you can see this one stops about there. So this one's about an inch to maybe just over an inch, and this one's closer to like 1.5 inches, 1 3/4, maybe even 2 inches. And like my husband's size, which this was a 64 stitch count, I'd say is like maybe 1 1/4 inches, you know, on the length there. So it just reduces that because there's more stitches decreased down on this turn, but the turn is a lot deeper. Like you can see the difference between how deep the actual cuff is. The turn is a lot deeper on this one. So it still gives you plenty of room in the instep, but it just decreases out faster. Anyway, so yeah, I will be, well, I have it written up. I need to finish the edits on it and then get it out to some testers. Like I said, I might put a testing call out on Instagram for that. I gotta figure out a name for it. But yeah, so that's that, I guess. So yeah, that's all my FOs. Like I said, I've been working a lot on designs lately. I have a couple other designs going on. I have another sock design that I've started. I've knit one of the socks. I need to knit another version and then finish up the second socks of those. I did just write up that pattern yesterday so I can get it edited and then get a test ready to go for that one as well. I've been big on sock knitting lately. Just been enjoying it. So yeah, that's all my finished objects, which I think is pretty good. And there was some finished objects from last time that I never did show you guys because I had, it's for a design that I didn't want to show yet. Okay. We'll do some whips. So since I've been doing so many designs, this is still on the needles. It's my Talina. This is in a bag by Rainworks. I don't mention that every time, but it's been in the same bag. And you guys have seen it, but I did finish one of the sleeves. So last time, 2 weeks ago, I was kind of mid-sleeve, essentially. So I was right there, and I finished the sleeve all the way. And I make long, and I like I said, I took out the color work on the sleeves. This is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. I took out the color work on the sleeves and just knit them solid, and then changed the rate of the decreases. Didn't get all the stitches decreased, so I think at the very bottom I had to rapidly decrease like 4 stitches or so. I don't know. And yeah, and then I just did my Italian sewn bind off like I did at the bottom of the body. And I did pick up and I just started the next sleeve. So what I usually do when I do sleeves, and I know a lot of people do this, is I mark my decreases with the little light bulb locking stitch markers. And then I just leave them on there. And then when I get to the next sleeve, I just take it from that sleeve and put it on this sleeve when it's ready. And I'm using the ChowGoo interchangeable. This one's on the blue set because it's size 4, US 4, 3.5, is that what it is? Yeah, 3.5 millimeter for the sleeves. And just working on this. So this one has become more of my like sitting on the couch knitting because it's pretty easy. I don't have to pay attention too much until I get to a decrease round. So yeah, hopefully it'll be done next time. If I just get a fire under my butt and finish it, it will only take a day or two if that's all I work on. But yeah, that'll be done soon. And then my next whip is a new cast on from just yesterday. My daughter's birthday is coming up here in April. And I usually like to give, I mean, they get socks all year long, but I usually like to give them a pair of socks. And this is not my color wheelhouse at all, but this is hers. So this is called the Fairground Socks pattern by Kay Jones of Bakery Bears. I have knit this pattern one time previously for a pair of socks for my daughter, and she really likes it. It's got a little bit of, it's like a rendition of Feather and Fan, so there's some lace work in it. I'm not a big fan of having, especially on tall socks, having lace, like holes in my socks, but she doesn't mind. So, and she likes how it moves. So yeah, that's how it will look. And this colorway, so I used Emma's Yarn mini that I bought at my, this is a new acquisition actually, this mini is. I bought at my LYS, the yarn bar. It's called Down the Rabbit Hole. That's that purpley color. And one of her favorite colors is purple. So I picked out like a green and a purple because she wasn't with me when I went there. And she liked the purple, of course, better. And then the other yarn, I've had it stashed for a little bit. And this is Area 51 fibers and Pretty in Pink Rainbows. And so, yeah, I love, and Area 51 Fibers now is doing her yarns. She used to do 100 gram skeins, but now she's doing 50 grams. And I actually bought 2 50 grams. And they weren't quite, they were both started at the pink, but one had a lot more pink left at the beginning than the other one did. And so what I ended up doing is just pulling out that first little rainbow bit on both skeins, so I could start up at the, this is like a larger speckled light pink section. So I could start that next to the cuff because I thought it looked better. So I did have a little yarn management going on, but anyways, yeah, this is a pretty quick, fun pattern. There are rest rows in there, so it's just, it's not too bad. Oh, and this is a bag by Barley Pearls. I got this one last year. I love it. It's more of my like summery bag, but because it's got moths and bats and stuff. Anyways. And then my last whip, I'm not showing, I am going to show a scrappy blanket today, but it's not the same one that you guys have seen. I didn't work, I put a tiny bit of work on my DK weight jelly roll. So I figured I'm not going to show you guys because it hasn't really changed. But I picked up I have 2 crochet blankets on the needles, or on the hook, I guess, right now. They're both a granny stripe. And this one I started, I think back in 2020, and I worked on it a little bit, and every once in a while I'd pick it up, and just recently I got the crochet bug again. I've seen other knitting podcasts that they do this, and like I said, I started this one a long time ago, and I have a lot of sock yarn scraps, and so I have a lot of sock yarn blankets. And this one, I also, okay, backtrack, sorry. Tennis Lavelli of Tennis Fiber Arts just came out with, well, she had a pullover that I liked that had crochet granny squares in knitting, and I think it was called the Fleetwood sweater. And then she just came out with the cardigan version that I loved called Jethro. And I bought the pattern right away, and I went through my DK weight scraps, not superwash because those are going in my jelly roll blanket, but all my like non-superwash DK weight scraps that are solids and stuff. And I also had like a sweater quantity of like a oatmeal-y color, a beige oatmeal color. And so I thought that would make a great sweater. And I was like, wow, if I'm going to start doing granny, squares again, I should maybe get some practice. So I pulled out my granny stripe blanket. That's the backstory of this. So like I said, I started this back in 2020. Thank you, COVID. And I'm just not the best crocheter. I have to look at what I'm doing. more than when I'm knitting. And so I just don't gravitate towards it as much. And this one, I am making it more of a blues, browns, greens, grays tones. We're going to get into some like that are like more orangish and other things in there, but I don't want it to get into like pinks, purples. I want it to be more moodier and more my color palette in general. But yeah, so I picked this up about a week ago, and I put a marker where I started when I picked it up. So this is kind of where I was in the middle of this light speckly color here, and I've worked that much on it, and I only work on it like generally in the mornings when I'm either waiting for the kids, or you know, after I'm done kind of getting them roused and going and waiting for them to get out of the house. I'll work on it a little bit, and then maybe when I first sit down and I usually watch some news on YouTube, or maybe a podcast or something on YouTube right away when I sit down with my coffee. And so I'll work on it during that, and then I don't work on it generally for the rest of the day. And this other marker up here, I decided to put one on at the beginning of the month. So this is where I started with April. It's kind of where the color changes. So I went from this like green speckly one to this light blue, and that's where I started in April. So I'm going to move up this marker every 2 weeks, and then I'll show you guys my monthly progress as well. Hopefully I'll keep with it, and maybe I'll get this one done this year. Who knows? Right now I'm enjoying it. We don't know how long that will last. But yeah, it's a pretty decent, it's about my wingspan, which I'm 5'6". It might be 5'5" on the width, but it'll be a decent size, like nice couch blanket or snuggle blanket. But yeah, so, and I did decide to, once I got done with the scraps that I was putting in it, because I just make a magic cake. Once I got done with that one, I weighed the blanket and decided to take it out of stash. So now every time I make up a magic cake ball, which is what this is, I weigh it, and then once I finish the ball, I'll take it out of stash for my stash in, stash out stats, rather than waiting till the blanket's all the way done. Because I think that's a little easier to do with crochet, especially when you make like magic knots. And I am doing about 20 grams or so, either stash yarn or minis for this one, just so there's bigger chunks of color. And it's fairly regular. It's not super regular. Like some of these aren't nearly as big as other bits, but that's fine. I'm okay with it because it's a scrappy blanket. And like I said, most of these are stash leftovers. Some are mini skeins. Just if I have a mini skein that goes in the color scheme that I like, I might throw it in there. Yeah, so when I talk about in a little bit, I'll talk about my yarn in and out stats for March, and this will be one of them, what I had for the blanket. This ball, I think I only had about 8 colors put into this one, so it's just over 80 grams, I think, that's in this ball. And I like I said, I weighed the ball. Once I get done crocheting this all the way, I will take it out. I'm not going to take it out like weekly or anything. I'm just, once the whole ball is done, I'll take it out of my stash. And I am using a Clover 3mm hook for that. All right. And then I think that's all my whips right now. Of course, there's other things, but that's all I'm showing right now. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about acquisitions. All right, so for acquisitions, I have, let's get some stuff moved out of the way. We went to, all right, backtrack a couple of weeks. The Saturday after I podcast last, we went downtown I wanted to go to the LYS to look for some minis for that sock project that I was going to start for my daughter. And then we also went, I had my husband and my son with me because my daughter was busy doing play stuff. And we went to the bookshop down there because I was looking for a couple of books. And they didn't have the ones that we wanted, but then we ended up buying a book for my son, Red Mars, I believe it was. And that is, what's our local bookshop downtown called? This House of Books. And so we bought one book there, and then across the street from there is a little chocolate shop. So we went in there and bought some chocolates. Anyways, but at the yarn bar, they have these candles. I don't even know what company this is, but a lot of different yarn shops had these, and they had this one on sale, probably because it's an evergreen colorway. But it says, smells like I'm starting projects without checking my gauge again. Generally I don't do that, but sometimes I do. But I like evergreen, and it's funny, and so I got that. And then the two minis I got, so I got the purple one, Down the Rabbit Hole from Emma's Yarn, and then I got this greenish one, Just Add Salt from Emma's Yarn. They have a lot of, well, they don't have a lot of minis, but they have a lot of her like smalls. Is it called smalls? Maybe these are the smalls. They have a lot of her 50 gram fingering weight, but not a ton of minis right now. But yeah, so I got this one. So since I have 100 grams of the main color of that sock yarn, I might have enough to make my daughter a pair of shorties as well. And maybe I'll throw that in there, or it will just go with some other crazy yarn later. And then, I didn't bring up one, but I have those chibi needles that are in like a plastic case, darning needles. And I have multiple of those. I have one by my desk. At my desk, I have one by my knitting spot downstairs, and then I have one in my like knitting backpack. And the one by my desk is the one I use the most often, and it has like a screw top, and where the screw top screws onto, that little like inside plastic bit broke off. So then it no longer had a screw top. And so it broke, and it was like I could no longer shut the chibi thing. And so my yarn shop had some of these little like wooden darning needle holders. It didn't come with needles in it. It just has the needle case that's wooden, and it just kind of, so there's no twisting. It shouldn't break unless I'm really mean to it. And then I just threw in the darning needles that I was using in that other one. And so that's something I needed, and they had it. So that was great. And then my family, like the kids had spring break last week, and we didn't plan on like leaving for a trip or anything. We were thinking about it, but then my son had soccer starting and my daughter had play stuff, and they didn't really want to leave town for a long period of time to miss too much. And so we went to Boseman for a day. And when we go to Boseman, we almost always go to the Museum of the Rockies, which is, if you know, like Jurassic Park and all those books, Jack Horn is the dinosaur paleontologist that Michael Crichton kind of like worked with for those types of books. And Jack Horn was a professor at MSUB in Boseman for years, and had a lot of the fossils there, like he discovered or worked on or something. And anyways, so that's a little backstory. And they also have a planetarium there. And so we needed to renew our membership, which we like to do memberships for, things like that we, even though we don't live in town and we don't get the best use out of it, we go there almost every time we go to Boseman because the kids just love it. We see whatever, they have one like or two areas that kind of change out in the museum, but then they have the dinosaurs, and they have like the Native American and like old pioneer and old vehicles always there. And then they have some rotating museums. And then in the summer they have some outdoor, like there's a old like house and then farm and all this stuff. But then they have the planetarium too, and the planetarium changes like every month or so. I think it changes what they show in there. And so we went to a couple shows in the planetarium as well. And then we also went to the local yarn shop in Boseman. Which is called Sticks. And it's my other LYS is how I always put it, because even though it's like 2 hours away, it's the next closest local yarn shop to me. So I bought some nightshades. I made my husband a sweater out of this and said that I kind of really wanted to make myself something. And this is the dashboard colorway. That is, it's like a, I don't know if this is the dark, I think it's the dark blue spun with it. And this is from Justlivin Designs. I got 3 of them because it should be enough to make a Thea Coleman vest that's cabled. I know I said I wanted to do it with just like with stockinette stitch, but this hat turned out nice, even though it's, you know, a dark yarn, and this is a dark yarn, and it's cabled. I think it'll be all right. And her sample she met with Mayak. I can't remember what that Smoke Show, maybe, is that the name of it? Anyways, I have the pattern. I just need to print it out and start it at some point. This might be a good one to knit on in the summer because I'll have more daylight. But yeah, so I will probably start that, and then I'd have a vest ready for fall. So I got those, and then I got one skein of Ito Sensei of the dark brown colorway. This is a mohair, and it's basically like, it looks like a black mohair, but the strand in there is kind of like this brown color. And I have a skein left over of nightshades. Well, I have more than a skein from my husband's sweater. So here's the leftovers that I have. And I might throw this with it because I thought that would be really pretty, and then make like a hat design or something. So that's probably going to be a design at some point. And we'll just see how it looks. I think it will look really cool. And then we also went to, of course, we ate out lunch and stuff. And we went to our favorite bookstore in Boseman is the Country Bookshelf. It's a quite large independent, I think it's the largest independent bookstore in Montana. It has a downstairs and an upstairs. I love it. We did some damage there. I got 2 books. My son got 4 books, and my daughter got 3 books. And we all read, so it's not that big of a deal. My husband just, you know, he might read some of the books that we bought because they're kind of, you know, he's not a huge reader, but he enjoys going. And so I bought the 3rd book in the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown, and I'll talk about it in reading. I'm still on the 2nd book, so this will be the next one I start probably. And then they have a lot of staff recommendations throughout the store, and one of them was The 5th Season by N.K. Jameson. And so I picked that up because the recommendation, they have a little blurb about the book and why they're recommending it, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. Haven't heard of it. And this is like book 1 of a series. I don't know how many is in there. It's the Broken Earth series. But it's another fantasy, science fiction-y something. I don't know. It was in that section. And then, and like I said, yeah, my kids they got a lot of books too. And some of the books I'll probably read that they got as well, because we have a tendency to share books. I also forgot, at Sticks, I bought a pair of moose stitch stoppers. I forgot to say that at Sticks. And then we went to a record store because at Christmas, my husband and I bought each other a record player system, essentially. So we have the receiver and the turntable, and then we still need to buy good speakers. We pulled speakers from an old stereo that we have down in the basement, But now that stereo doesn't have any speakers. So we need to get good speakers to go with our new setup upstairs or in our main living room. And then, yeah, we still just haven't done it yet. But we bought some records, and this was a new record store to us because, again, we hadn't been to Boseman since we bought our turntable. But this was Cactus Records and Gifts. And yeah, so I was going to show you the actual records today. I usually don't show you records. I just tell you that I bought them. But I love Nina Simone, and this is the album that I really, really wanted. Pastel Blues. It has some really good songs on it, but my favorite song is Sinner Man. But I love Nina Simone. Her voice is like no one else's. I don't know. I've loved it since I was a teenager. So love her. I'll probably get more albums, but for sure I wanted that one. And then my son has really started to like, both my husband and I love Radiohead from our, teenage years and 20s and stuff. And my son just went into the Radiohead section, and he didn't know anything, but basically any Radiohead album you pick is going to be a good one. We already have OK Computer, and he picked out Hail to the Thief. This one's kind of interesting. We didn't realize right away, but it's a 45 RPM record, because we were playing it on 33, which is what most of them are, and especially larger albums are. And my husband's like, that doesn't sound right. It sounds really slow. And he's like, is it a 45? I'm like, that seems weird. And then we switched it to 45. We're like, yep, that sounds like it should. So anyway, so this, whatever, I don't know if all of their copies of this album are 45, but this one is. So it's a double record, even though there's only like 10 songs or so on it. It's a double record. And then my daughter loves Noah Kahan, so she picked out Stick Season. And I had heard like of the song Stick Season. That's about it. I hadn't heard any of the other ones, but I really did enjoy it because it's kind of like a folksy rock type song genre thing, and that's well within my music loves. So that's the album she picked out. And then the other one I got, again, my husband has a tendency just to be okay with whatever we grab. This is one of my favorite Neil Young albums, Harvest. I love Harvest Moon, the song. The rest of the album I don't like as much, so I don't know if I'll buy that actual album. But this album has a lot of good songs on it. Yeah. So, my favorite Neil Young album. Had to get that one. And then, yeah, so that was like our big giant, like, woo, fun spring break thing. We went to Boseman and bought stuff. But we had a good time. And then, yeah, for the most part, the rest of spring break was just us hanging around the house and watching movies, watching TV, watching a lot of March Madness because that's what I do. Yeah, so then I'll talk about some reading, watching, yarn stats, the rest of life stuff. Well, I guess I already kind of really got into life stuff for the most part. But reading, like I said, I'm still reading Golden Sun. I didn't bring my book up, but you saw it last time. It is the second book of the Pierce Brown Red Rising trilogy, which now I think has 5 or 6 books in it, so it's no longer a trilogy. I'm more than halfway done. I just haven't been reading as much lately. And then I'm still listening to A Man Called Ova on the Libby app from my library. I actually, this is Fredrik Backman. I actually didn't get it through it before I had to return it, but it didn't take very, I think I only had to wait like 2 or 3 days before it came back in. And I'm more than 50% done. I mean, it's only like a 9-hour listen. I really should just listen to it and get it done. I have some cleaning to do today, so I'll probably get a good, hour of listening in today on that as well. Watching, we have been watching a lot more than usual just because the kids were around and we had spring break. I mean, they did, like, my daughter spent the night at a friend's house and had another friend over for a while and then was gone for a while. And my son, hung out with his friends and had a sleepover at their house. So they weren't always around, but they got to hang out with friends. But yeah, March Madness, been watching that, of course. My brackets one bracket's broken. The other, I did two, and the other one isn't 100% broken. I still have UConn is winning the whole thing, but they, a lot of the rest of it, I won't get a lot of points from. I was still watching Criminal Minds. I kind of stopped. It's getting to be repetition. I can't just keep watching over and over again. It's just too much. My son really wanted to watch Aliens, so we watched Alien, the first movie. We'll probably watch Aliens maybe this weekend. Then my daughter, when my son was gone for his sleepover, my husband and I and our daughter watched Empire Records together. Good old 90s film. We got Max, or HBO Max. It's not really called HBO Max anymore. We got Max because I've been bugging my husband for a while to get it. And on that, he and I started watching True Detective, the first season of it. I know the fourth is supposed to be the best, but we wanted to start at the beginning. They have Friends on that, so I've been watching Friends every once in a while. And then the other day, I discovered on YouTube Taskmaster, and oh my God, I love British comedies anyways, and I love watching like Graham Norton and stuff like that, but I love this. It's so good and just binge watchable. I watched I think the series 17 just started, so they had the first episode. I watched that. And then I watched all of series 16, and then I was like, I should start at the beginning. So I went just yesterday, I started watching series 1, and I think I only got like 1 or 2 episodes into it. My son will sit down and watch that with me. My husband will. My daughter hasn't really done it yet, but she's never and again, that's a great thing to like knit to or whatever, because you don't have to like super pay attention, but oh my God, it's so funny. Highly recommend Taskmaster is all I can say. So life stuff, I have, like I said, it's basically been what I already talked about. So other than my son started both track and soccer. So at least one day out of the week, he has both practices usually. So we go right from picking him up from track practice out to soccer practice. And that's a long, 2.5, 3 hours of activity for him. But yeah, and then my daughter's play is going to be at the end of April, I think. And so pretty soon they'll start having even longer practices at night. So she won't be getting home until even later. But yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about my March yarn stats. Remember, I keep track. I had a fair amount of yarn come in. I had 1,080 grams come in, but I did have 1,165 grams go out, mainly because I finished my husband's sweater, and I did take out over 200 grams from that granny stripe blanket, and then a lot of pair of socks. I finished 6 pairs of socks last month, and a few of those were DK weight, a lot of designs. So all those were finished last month. It's crazy. But yeah, I think that's about everything. It's kind of a long episode, but that happens when you have a lot of FOs and acquisitions. I mean, most of the acquisitions were not yarny acquisitions, but we love reading and listening to music, and there's a lot of different things that we love. And the royal we. Anyways, I hope you guys are getting into more springtime weather. I can't wait to get the garden going. I know I have to wait until like May, just in the area that we live in. That's generally when I can start planting stuff outside. I don't generally start stuff inside because our house doesn't have the best natural light, and I don't want to have grow lamps. I just don't. So I generally don't start any seeds inside. Yeah, but my rhubarb has just started to pop up, and some strawberry plants have started to pop up. So we are getting some stuff starting to grow. So that's fun. I hope you guys had a good 2 weeks. I hope you have a good next 2 weeks, and I will be back, and I probably will be showing you my new DK weight sock design that will be released by then. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye.